Here, that's okay. I have to record this so I can put it on YouTube later. I said aliens, and that made me think of recording for some reason. So yes, anyway, Aquarius rules far out ideas. Okay. So innovation and yeah, so a fixed air sign is kind of an interesting place to have a full moon, and it's, you know, highlighting all of that stuff, which is weird. It's weird energy. I'm not saying all Aquariuses are weird. Please don't take it like that. Okay. And when you get these things, you get my perspective. That's what you're watching here. I just have, you know, I've developed these perspective on things. Some people may disagree with me. Other astrologers have different ideas. There's many techniques. So this is just one. This is Mandy Ray's version. And I think Aquarius is far out energy, far out, man. The thing about this full moon is it is completing a cycle from February 11th. So we had the new moon in Aquarius, February 11th. That new moon in Aquarius on February 11th, 2021 was highly charged. It had Venus present. It had Saturn present. It had Jupiter present. It had, oh my gosh, what else was present? I just had it up here. Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury retrograde, Sun, Moon, February 11th, 2021. So that new moon had a lot of archetypal energy wrapped up into it. So how we love, what we value, how we want to build our future and plans for the future and goals, right? And it was very higher minded, far out. We can do this, okay? That's how I felt anyway. And now this full moon comes around and it's like, I mean, can you? How was that? Do we need to tweak something? I think we probably do. So that's sort of the energy of this full moon. It's not like, it really is about tweaking our reality, going back and looking at the blueprints and saying, you know, I did that this way and I learned a lesson, valuable things, right? But let me just let that go. I don't have to stay married to the idea or the plans. I can be flexible. Aquarius is a fixed sign. It doesn't really like to be flexible, right? So this can feel uncomfortable. Now I'll look at the Sabian symbol. It's at the first degree of Aquarius and it's an unexpected thunderstorm. Well, okay, that sounds promising, doesn't it? So that's why I'm saying it's also in the Egyptian terms of Mercury, and it really could be quite destabilizing as well. So it's best to sort of just ride it and grab your surfboard and see how you feel. You may feel like you need to break free from something. You may need to redo something important that you thought you had locked down already. It's okay. I think staying flexible is one of the more important themes for this full moon. And because Aquarius's goals for the future, that's why I say, you know, you don't have to always follow the rules that you set for yourself. It's been the theme, I think, with Saturn being involved. It's your rules, it's your foundation, it's your structure. And we can, you know, think we're doing things a certain way, and then we keep doing them because we've always done them a certain way. So I think that this full moon is like, you know, there's a new, better way. It is a lot of work. You don't have a Saturnian transit without work. And that is something that is like kind of lame, you know, it's okay. It's all right to say that. Sometimes work is hard, but there's work to be done here. So, you know, the other thing that could come about is a feeling of freedom in some way, or pushing for freedom. That is because these fixed signs are all activated right now. Saturn square Uranus, the sun's in Leo, Mars and Venus have been in Leo. So this is really fundamental fixed Grand Cross energy. Now we did have a moon transit through Scorpio, but there's nothing in Scorpio right now. That being said, I think that the Uranus influence, even though it's far away from the degree, is very palpable. So that whole Sabian symbol that I read you about a thunderstorm occurring really matches up with the Uranian energy as well. So pushing for freedom against the structures we've got. So tweaking our plans. Here's the other thing. Venus moves into Virgo tonight, just before the full moon. So it will be in Virgo at the full moon. And Venus in Virgo really has us like focusing, making judgments. I think Venus is a judgmental planet, not in the bad way. We have to judge things in life. We have to judge if it's safe, if it's efficient, that sort of judgment. So discernment. Venus and Virgo is going to help a lot with that. And I think you may feel like, okay, maybe I should take a look at how this is working, the small pieces, the small parts, and say, what can I do here to make it better? And Virgo is the pruner of the zodiac, right? How do we make it flourish? That's a Virgo thing. So Venus and Virgo should add a lot of love for doing it. It's like love for doing the work. Someone described Venus and Virgo as like the hot librarian or something like that, right? So yeah, you get nerdy about things. You make lists and plans, and that's wonderful. Now, the sun moves into Leo, obviously just before this full moon, because it is a full moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is opposite Leo, so they will always be opposite if there is a transit like this. The sun moving into Leo is going to be, I think, pretty nice because the sun in Cancer, especially opposing Pluto last week, was really hard. I think, at least for me, Pluto is demanding of our attention, especially in the shadow work sort of way. And I think people make fun of that phrase, shadow work. But what I mean is digging down deep. So it can feel very hard. It's transformation. It's the Tower card. And so the sun in Cancer, which is emotional, moves emotion. It feels sensitive, opposed Pluto just last week. That felt pretty intense, but also like a marker of time. And it is. So if the new moon in Aquarius was February 11th, just before that was the new moon in Capricorn, and then also the sun with Pluto. So that's another transit like 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, being completed right now. So it definitely feels like a pivot and a turning point. And I think when the sun moves into Leo tomorrow morning around like 8 a.m., I think that's going to also give us a boost of creative energy, of maybe feeling more alive, feeling like, I'm coming out. In fact, I think this is so funny. At least where I live, it's been raining a whole lot, lots of water energy. And I think next week it's supposed to dry out and be hot. Now, that being said, that's me. Some of this heat may not be good for other parts of the country, but we can hope for feeling joy, which is a Leo trait, creativity, being in touch with that inner child, that playfulness. So that is a piece of this full moon, is the play and the joy, and how do I work with others and keep my heart feeling good. So here's a little bit of the work that I was referencing earlier, and I'm going to talk about Saturn being there. Saturn is at 10 degrees of Aquarius, and Saturn is the taskmaster, right? So how we build. And what I want to talk about Saturn and Aquarius in a different way than just the work that we do, the plans that we make, is also how we work together. So that's another important piece of the full moon, is realizing that it has to do with how we work with people. It's networking, it's community. And Aquarius is the humanitarian, right? So how are you working in your community? I think balancing this Leo Aquarius stuff is very important. So how are you protecting your creative heart, your inner child, that kind of sweet, loving, compassionate energy? And then how are you taking it to the community, to the outside world? There's work to be done here. There's lots of work to be done here. Are you treating your neighbor as yourself? Are you loving your neighbor as yourself? Very, very simple phrase from the Bible. Love thy neighbor as thyself, I think. Thy, thou, something like that. But that's an important question for this. How are you loving your neighbor? Do we need to work on that? We're one community here. I can reach out across the internet to you and I can say whatever I want. That means I could say whatever I want about you. Wow. That's a lot of power we've got. Oh, So use it, wield it wisely. I think wielding our networking, the Aquarian talking to each other, wielding our words wisely and carefully is a very important thing to realize. This full moon is in the term of Mercury again. So how we communicate matters. So are you loving your neighbor as yourself? That's a super big theme for this full moon. Let's see what else is coming in here. That's right. Saturn is making a sextile, sort of. It's kind of moving away from Chiron, but I really like that. That's a super healing energy. And so I think that, man, that really fits in with the Aquarius sort of love each other theme. You have to love yourself. You have to love each other. It's all about how you work together. So Saturn's coming in to be the taskmaster here in this full moon. But yeah, I think the most important takeaways are: do not be afraid to change. You can change your own rules, especially if you're the one who made them. Love your neighbor, get along. I think that we need it right now. The other significations of the Uranus Saturn square are weather, earth events. And I mean, I think that's already happening. I'm not being a fear monger or whatever, but I think that it's going to be necessary to be able to work together. That's what I think. And maybe that full moon will, sort of show that to us. We'll see. Oh, is there anything else that I can tell you before I go through the signs? Mercury in Cancer. Still thinking about that. I mean, Cancer and Leo are both inner child, emotion. Cancer is the mother, the nurturer, but also the child. So this really does have a lot to do with our needs as well, our inner needs. And I can see people being, one or the other, completely disconnecting from things or really moving toward what inspires their heart. Let's go through the signs. That seems like a good time to do that. So for Aries rising this full moon, what may you need to tweak, rethink around your goals, your tribe, your networking? I love to use the word networking for Aquarius. And then for Aries risings, this happens in the networking place for you, the 11th house. So it's the future. You may need to go redo some things after the last 6 months. It's like, I don't know if that worked out so well. Let's tweak it. That's a good idea for Aries risings right now. I'm just looking. Uranus is in your second house. So that is about self-worth. That's where you're pushing for freedom and where you're having these value shifts. So for Aries rising, it has a lot to do with your self-worth and also your goals, the future, the tribe you have around you. All right. For Taurus rising, this is in your 10th house, which is career, public reputation, really how you put yourself out to the world, especially in that sort of serious, I want accolades way, right? So that's where this full moon is. You may want to redo something around career plans or goals for the future, maybe how you network at work. Uranus is in your first house, which is pushing for freedom of identity, of self. So I can see a lot of declaring things for Taurus risings, that you're no longer going to take something, right? And that's a good idea, especially at work and with public reputation. You may want to tweak some plans around the future with career as well. So like if you have some goals that you've decided to set for yourself, they may change, and that's okay. Remember, the Sabian symbol is a thunderstorm, and lightning that comes out of a thunderstorm. Okay, Gemini rising. This is in your 9th house, which is higher education, truth, belief. So there may need to be a letting go of some ideas around what you believe to be true. Maybe around travel, around how you learn, who your gurus are as well. I also call the ninth house the choose your own adventure house. So this looks like a highly philosophical, fairly abstract transit for you. And then Uranus is in your 12th house, which is your subconscious, your dreams. So that's where you're pushing for freedom. So this is highly philosophical, highly spiritual. I would say you could become aware of a truth that you weren't before, or maybe you're just surprised at something that you no longer believe. It could be, kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that. So for Gemini risings, I would just say, keep an open mind. All right. For Cancer rising, this full moon is in your 8th house, which is about boundaries, power balances, or imbalances. So how you share your resources, investments, you can sort of see where this is going, right? It's a dark house, and I don't mean that in a scary way. I mean, it's about the shadow, about things that we don't talk about, right? Or that we don't really like to look at. So life, death, rebirth, transformation. So this full moon is there. How do you share yourself? How do you share your resources? Could have tried something out the last 6 months since February. And maybe it's like, I don't know if I really like that. So you're pushing for freedom and your goals. You want to really, I say go for the gold, right? So this is going to require stronger boundaries, standing in your truth more, really knowing what you can handle and what you can't, especially in terms of how you share yourself with people. And this is a self-worth journey for you as well, with the sun there in your 2nd house. So that's going to feel nice, I think. And maybe it's like a realization of what you're worth. And remember to let your goals and your friend groups reflect that. If someone in your field is not working out, I say definitely be okay with changing that, right? It's okay to not, you don't have to maintain relationships that are not good for you. There you go. Leo rising. Hello, Leo rising. This is in your 7th house of relationship. And relationship to what? To people, yes. To your goals, yes. To the future, sure. All of those things. So you may be needing to tweak some plans there, realizing that, hey, my relationships in my life need to reflect my heart, my creative self-actualization. So Uranus is in your 10th house. And so you're pushing for freedom in career, public reputation, mastery, authority to a certain extent. So you may need to shift some things about relationships, or how there's work there. That's all I can say. Some either tweaking or it feels like, I got to deal with this again sort of situation. But this is the time you realize how to shift it, what needs to change, I think, in terms of how you relate to people or the relationships in your life. Okay. For Virgo rising, this is in your 6th house of health, daily life, ritual. So you're going to be tweaking things about the way you do things every day. This will probably feel nice, and it's okay to shift this. In fact, the 6th house is probably one of the best places to shift things. So like you think changing around your living room, deciding to wipe down the bathroom counter every morning, because maybe the last 6 months things have not worked out there, and maybe your health suffered, maybe your daily life, your time, how you work, all of that. That's where you're shifting things and really saying, I don't think that worked before, or it lived its life. Like I drank tea every day for 6 months, and I think it's starting to affect me poorly. So I'm going to change that. It's okay to change the rules there. You're pushing for freedom in the 9th house, which is higher education, learning. It really is about searching for spiritual truth. So that has to do with what you do every day. Maybe you've realized you need to have a ritual every day that, you never had before. And you're seeing, hey, every day that I get up and I put my shoes on immediately, I'm doing things better. Things like that. I mean, it can be that mundane in the 6th house, Virgo rising. All right. Libra rising. Hello. This is in your 5th house of joy, fun, romance, inner child, and children. So there could be some creative goal maybe that is needing to shift. It could have a lot to do also with being seen, getting the attention that you want, the creative attention especially. Uranus is in your 8th house because, look, that is about boundaries and how you really need to, I think you're looking for freedom from some sort of weight that's holding you down in the 8th house. That's the root chakra. So, I mean, for Libra risings, as much as the 5th house is fun, where you're pushing for freedom is a very deep place, right? So, I have a feeling after this full moon, Libra risings may not do things the same way, especially in terms of relationship. The 8th house is where you make contracts with partners. And with this being 5th house romance, it does seem highly relationship related. Now, if you're someone who's not in a relationship, it could be about business partnerships or just really who you're intimate with. You could be deciding, I need to change something here. I need to either not let them have that much power, or it really is sort of taking your own power back. I do think it'll be freeing because the 5th house is such a great placement. Saturn's there, so it's kind of like to have the fun, to get the enjoyment, to get the creative fulfillment. I do have to do the work, right? And this work is a very deep sort of spiritual work that you're doing with the 8th house Uranus there. So yeah, redoing creative projects, maybe deciding you need more attention, you need more love, that person is not giving you enough, all of those things for Libra risings. Scorpio rising, this is in the area of home for you. So you really are maybe rethinking something about a home that you have. It could extend to close family. There is work there, Saturn's there. And in fact, I think Saturn is the first thing the moon touches after this full moon. So it's that obstacle that, oh, there still needs to be work done there, that will come up for you in the home and family area. Now, Uranus is in your 7th house. So it could seem like maybe relationships are a little unstable. And so you're having to put the focus back on your home. That's what I'm intuiting from, I guess, all of my client work. I just know that that seems to be a theme for Scorpio risings, putting the attention back on your own emotional security, back on standing on your own foundation, doing the emotional home, not inner child, inner heart, inner soul work, really, for the 4th house stuff. So, yeah, if relationships have been rocky, it's pointing you back to your own heart center, basically. And do you have a place in your home that you can, go space out with this Aquarius disconnectedness? That could be needed as well. We'll see. But yeah, it could be a realization that something in your home literally needs to change. So it could be very mundane like that too. Okay, so let's do Sag rising. All right, Sag rising. This is in your 3rd house of how you think, how you communicate, the decisions you make, the messages you send. Siblings is another 3rd house subject. Also, Hellenistic astrology, traditionally the house of the goddess. So I think this full moon has a lot to do with a mental perspective shift for you. Uranus is in your 6th house, so something in your daily life could be upended, or that's where you're pushing for freedom, health, routine, even work. Coworkers is the 6th house thing. So I think this is going to require a lot of just allowing a perspective shift for Sagittarius risings. It's going to change the way you think, maybe the way you do things every day, especially if you've had some short-term goals. I would put that in the 3rd house with Aquarius there, or planning on any short trips, just be flexible. I think that's really important for Sagittarius risings right now with Uranus in your 6th house. Okay. Be flexible. Capricorn rising. We're making it through this, you guys. I'm losing energy. It's okay. Capricorn risings, I love you. And you make me perk back up. So this is in your 2nd house of self-worth and finances and assets and money. And this full moon really is going to be about, okay, I had these plans for my money. I had these plans for my assets, or maybe to get my hair colored or something, and this is not working out. Also, we can't forget about friend groups in the Aquarius mix here. So the goals you have with your money, also how your self-worth and friends relate to each other, are the groups you're part of really reflective of how much you are worth? You have Uranus in your 5th house, which is love and inner child and creativity. So something's being blown apart in that area about children, maybe your inner child, maybe just the love you need, or some freedom in that area. You're like, I just really want to feel free, have fun, and be carefree. So this requires some planning in this very serious sort of area, my assets, my finances, and how I spend that, how I spend my money, my time, what I value. All right. Aquarius rising. This is about who you are. It's in your 1st house. So identity. So maybe redoing some things around there. You don't remember, you can break the rules. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to, especially if you made the rule, right? So Uranus is in your 4th house, which is home, family, ancestry, emotional security. And I think the full moon it has a lot to do with feeling emotional freedom to be yourself, I think. So it also could have a lot to do with your home. But something tells me that for Aquarius risings, this is more about who you are, how you're conducting your life, and where you're conducting it from on an emotional level. So and how you're fitting into groups, I think, is another big deal for Aquarius risings. Are you just thinking about what the 1st house is, and it's about autonomy and authenticity. And I think for Aquarius risings, it may be hard to be your authentic true self. Like I said, Aquarius is the bird's eye view. So you see things from a million different perspectives. But this is really about zeroing in on who you are at your emotional core. How are you conducting yourself, both in your plans for the future and in the way you relate to the community? All right, Pisces risings. This for you, very abstract, spirituality, spirit, dreams, mysticism, magic. That is where Aquarius is for you. So this is more of a download than anything. It's like downloading the new programming. So you may have to make some room for it. And that's the thing, make some space. I think maybe retreat is a good idea for Pisces risings, reflection. And maybe you retreat with a group because it's Aquarius. But it is about, going into that liminal spiritual space and letting it undo you a little bit. You have Uranus in your 3rd house, which is the way you think, the decisions you make. And so you're really, I think, having some mental enlightenment moments here, maybe some aha moments for sure. Some inspiration could come in for Pisces risings. What else could I say about this? It is about the way you communicate, opening up that throat chakra. So going inside that spiritual area in your heart and your mind and your soul, and listening for the messages that you need to be letting come forth. And that might be super woo-woo. I don't care. It's just what I have to say about it. Like I said, you get my perspective and that's it. All right. So I've probably embodied a lot of the Jupiter at the 0 degree of Pisces energy today. I feel kind of loopy. Maybe that's all the rain we've gotten. It's okay. I hope I made sense. Definitely through the houses. I know those came through pretty clearly. Do I want to say anything about past the full moon? Let's see. Mars moves into Virgo July 29th. That's Thursday. Oh, and then July 28th. Yeah, Jupiter moves back into Aquarius. So see, even more of this Aquarius stuff it's just, you need to pay attention. Also 6 months ago, around February 11th, but actually before that, it was this December solstice, was the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction right where this full moon is. So many themes coming back up from December, January, February. Okay. And how you can tweak them, how you can change them, what needs to happen to make it go well in the future, what work needs to be done. Jupiter moving back into Aquarius. How do we need to reorganize this stuff? That's going to feel nice for this area. So like around the 20, I'm trying to get the exact time that Jupiter moves back in. There it is. All right. Jupiter moves back into Aquarius, 8 a.m. July 28th. So that's going to also ping this Aquarius area. So go through, if you haven't, listened to the rising signs again whenever this goes up on IGTV or on YouTube, because this Aquarius area will come up over and over and over again until probably Saturn leaves that area, but then Pluto moves there. So pay attention. This is an area there where there's a lot of work being done. And I know that the delineations for all the houses that I just went through, those themes will be some of the bigger themes of this year. So when I said, hey, this is in your first house, Aquarius Risings, that's your identity, that's going to be highlighted all year. And this full moon is just one of those, right? It points at it. Pay attention to where Aquarius is in your chart. And then pay attention to where Taurus is, with Uranus squaring it. Pay attention to where Leo and Scorpio are as well. The fixed grand cross, all the fixed signs, the modality. All right. So that being said, as soon as the full moon hits, it touches Saturn first. And that's like an initial, like, oh, this is the work that needs to be done. Okay. Yes, Taskmaster. Thank you. Thank you, Taskmaster. I mean, seriously, that's what it's like. That's Saturn. And that'll be, let's see, 1 p.m. on Saturday. So after that, it'll square Uranus. That's probably the same day. And these themes that I just read to you for your rising signs that are active, they'll be active Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The moon will make so many connections while in Aquarius. So it squares Uranus later on that Saturday. And then Sunday, the moon moves into Pisces, which immediately hits Jupiter, poses Venus. That Monday should be kind of a nice feeling day, I would think. Although we are getting into Sun opposite Saturn territory, and that's going to be, again, that responsibility, that weight of Aquarius coming in, right? It's like, you can't have a good time. You got work to do. You got some work to do. All right, Tuesday. Oh, Mercury opposite. Mercury opposite Pluto. That's going to be Sunday evening into Monday. So, okay, that may mitigate the Venus Moon Jupiter opposition. It probably just is going to have people wanting to escape, because Mercury opposite Pluto, we experienced something similar with the Sun opposite Pluto last week, and it's about taking back your power. So, no light astrology for a minute. It's just really not with the fixed signs very active. It seems like we're like under a vice grip or something. So maybe pay attention July 28th with Mars at the last degree of Leo, opposing Jupiter freshly in Aquarius, very important transit. Could be very sensitive. Mars is your ego, it's passion, it's anger, all of those things. And when it opposes Jupiter, July 28th, those will get big. I would watch the world stage. around that time. Mars is a fire planet and a fire sign. Jupiter's an air sign. Jupiter's in Aquarius, an air sign. And when you add air to fire, it gets bigger. It just does. To top it all off, the moon's in Aries, another fire sign, and Uranus still in Taurus there. Venus coming into trine it. That's another week or so after this. I think July 28th is a very important date. And then the 29th, Mars moves into Leo, maybe the 30th. So 28th, 29th is Mars opposite Jupiter. And then 30th, Mars moves into Virgo. I could get some exact times there for you. I think that will have us having to clean up after whatever the Mars Jupiter opposition brings. So again, pay attention to the Aquarius area, okay? Yeah, beyond that, I don't think I would pay attention to the moon transit through Taurus. That's the 31st, because that's the third quarter square of the moon. So that'll be an important marker. So the 31st will be the last adjustment from the new moon. And then we go into Venus trine Uranus territory on August 2nd, which is, that could be, I mean, it could be opportunistic shift because it's Venus. It could be a continuation of all of the kind of uncomfortableness of the shift in Taurus area. So I look at Venus Uranus aspects overall as pretty good. Maybe something out of left field. That's what I'm hoping for. Yes. Also that's around the Mercury cazimi, where the Mercury and the sun come together. That's August 1st. So some pretty active astrology, like things don't just quiet down. They never do anyway. But sometimes you'll have a lull in astrology, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, well, you get a break here. And there's just no breaks right now. There's no breaks. There's none. All gas, no breaks, right? So yeah, because then the sun, even with Mercury, that cazimi opposes Saturn August 1st. And that is more of this work, more of this Aquarius work, more of this Aquarius work. Okay. All right. Well, that being said, I think past that, oh gosh, is the sun square Uranus. That's August 6th, but then we're getting into new moon in Leo territory. And that is going to be a wildly shifty new moon. Wildly shifty, wildly. So look forward to that. Pay attention to the rising sign delineations. Those things will come in handy for you. All right. I don't know if I have any comments. I can't tell because, you know, so let me see comments for some reason. That's okay. I'm gonna get off this thing. I got things to do. I got things to plan. You know what I mean? All right, y'all. Have a good one. Oh yeah, this will be up on YouTube later.